Hi friends. Very often, in the news feed of any social network, their achievements slip through the list of the richest people in the world. And if we paid attention to this, most of them are already over 60 years old, and perhaps someone will say that if you are successful and incredibly rich, then you are already old. So what financial success comes, as they say, over the years? One way or another, but in this list of elderly billionaires today there is one young man who is an exception to the rule and who is not afraid of this word. Really changed our whole world, but also guess, as you may have guessed from the title. This is Mark Zuckerberg. Today we will talk about the most popular social network name in the world, which has long become a household name. Facebook has rapidly entered our lives. Because of it there is one of the most leading positions. Although it is worth noting that Facebook was not actually the first social network in the world. But it was this platform for communication that became a real breakthrough. To date, it has registered 2.5 billion people. For comparison, there are only 460 million in contact. And this is almost 33% of the world's population. You can imagine it. And this number is growing every day. For example, the number of registered Facebook users today is comparable to the population of the planet in the 18th century. So what helped an ordinary boy from a Jewish family to achieve worldwide fame, and thanks to which Facebook became the most popular social network in the world now? And let's talk about it. Mark Zuckerberg is born on May 14, 1984, in the city of White, USA, in a fairly wealthy family. Of course, the Zuckerbergs were not millionaires. But at the same time, they didn't deny themselves anything, since Mark's father was a dentist, a psychiatrist, and thought it was no secret to anyone that these two professions are considered one of the most sought after and profitable overseas. Therefore, their family did not experience financial difficulties, at least in recent years. As befits a boy who grew up in the 90s, he loved to spend time on the street, playing various active games. But it was exactly until the age of 10 the brand was not presented with the most important gift in his life, namely a brand new one. The stunning 2994 computer Quantum 486. X with an Intel 486 processor. At first, he, like most boys of that time, was simply crazy about computer games, graphics, opportunities that today's children can only cause a smile, but 2994. It was just a breakthrough. It just so happened that the guy was on his own with his home PC. And since the parents were not particularly versed in the miracle of technology, he had to install each subsequent game or, say, the program himself, and this did not always work out for him. After a few trial and error, reboots and other standard actions, little March came to the conclusion that he alone could not cope. But as you remember, it was the mid-90s, and as you understand, the older generation didn't really own a computer yet, and the younger one was just starting to master their weak one. Looking ahead, it was the generation of teenagers of the 90s who would later give out an incredible number of startups, but that's a completely different story. And what a schoolboy she is, she still tries unsuccessfully to cope with her homework, while the work, for which he was so interested, that after a few months Mark bought all possible books on programming. Each new page was a discovery for him. If initially the guy wanted to find answers to elementary questions, then literally a year later he could easily create simple programs. And a little later, even Igor, as Mark himself once said to many, and now it's an incomprehensible set of symbols and codes. All they need to know is how the computer turns on and off on me. Was just interesting. The other thing I was interested in was how everything it works. Closer to the age of 11, our hero has studied a huge amount of literature, including the main works of such geniuses as Bill Gates. Is difficult. Probably now imagine a child who loves to read while not comics or science fiction. This is technical literature, so for many critics it's worth saying that before he started to succeed, he did an incredible job. Towards the age of 12, sitting at home after studying, little Mark created his first game, and then the second and third. But as Simon later admitted, all of them were terrible and disgusting, so they did not see the big world. But they helped to master programming, and at the age of 12, Mark wrote a messenger program, which he named how many years later he even began to use it. Mark's father is at his headquarters work. If the wall in the reception did not shout at the entire office of the clients who came, but simply notified him in electronic format, the messenger was also very useful for family communication. As time went on, and our hero, improving his programming skills was for him, like the work of an artist, just sitting at home at the computer. He felt at ease and already closer to 15 years, along with his classmates. He created his first Cinetext program. It was very simple. A musical program designed to independently generate the desired list of tracks for true music lovers. Later, on one of the forums of like-minded people, he will write a brief description of the program and its capabilities. She will receive flattering reviews from members of the forum and after some time even reach the large offices of the giant Microsoft. Just like that, already in the year 2000, Microsoft approached our student with an incredible offer to buy it from a boy for several tens of thousands of dollars, conferring at home counsel. Mark tells his parents that he does not want to sell his offspring. His father and mother supported him. And since the family did not experience problems with money, Mark refused. Microsoft. It was a small slap in the face for the largest corporations, Oberstove, a schoolboy, and after some time the rates increased to $2 million for Marx. He refused, saying that the miracle of music does not sell, and many specialists who studied his biography made it freely available on the network brand. They say that this was the turning point. Then I was born an independent personality of the future billionaire. While many other geniuses sold their startups for millions of dollars to the largest corporations and a sense of satisfaction began to burn through life, our hero himself wanted to be on a par with Microsoft and who knows, and perhaps even higher. From that moment on he clearly realized that not ready to work for someone, giving most of his time and his earnings to some uncle. It is also worth noting that Mark was not a botanist, but most of the subjects were given to him very easily. The guy did not spend all his time reading books. He attended various foreign language groups, played sports and spent a lot of time with friends, not forgetting to also devote time to his family, which seriously influenced the establishment of his identity. His parents supported him in everything and even sometimes encouraged him in his achievements. It is believed that the idea to create Facebook came to the guy while studying at a private school Phillips X Sneakers. It was there that, upon admission, all students were given a book, where there were photographs of their classmates with the coordinates of residence and contacts, and students soon jokingly called it for Facebook in translation to it. Guritsi. It was convenient and practical. But there was one problem. The information was only on paper, and every time when it was necessary to find the contacts of a person, I had to look for this book. It was then that the idea began to appear in the guy's head. What if we made a simple program, where it would be enough just to enter and see all the contacts on, he would bring it to life. A little later, as one would expect, with such skills and talent in the field of programming, the best and most popular university in the country, Harvard, kindly accepted Markov into its walls by that time. Rumors of a young guy who refused Microsoft were already ahead of him, and every self-respecting university as ready was to give him a seat. But Mark chose Harvard. After all, it was there that once such prominent personalities as John F. Kennedy, Franklin Roosevelt and, of course, Bill Gates studied, and by the way, the real success story in Facebook began. Mark entered the Harvard Department of Psychology, where he studied as the most ordinary student, leaving everything for the last day, not coming off to the fullest with his friends. So a couple of days before the art history exam, it turned out that during the period of study, the brand had to study 1,500 paintings, of course, in order to pass this exam. All other students read books describing famous works of art. But, as they say, laziness breeds progress. What do you think, friends? What way out of this situation did Zuckerberg find? He simply created a website in just 2 days, where he posted 500 pictures and asked all his fellow students to describe their pairs of words. A few hours later, under almost every picture there was an easy and accessible description, thanks to which the guy received an incredible truth credit. But that was only the beginning. After just a couple of months, Mark created a new site, FaceMash, where he posts in pairs photos of Harvard students. Visitors just had to choose the photo they liked according to the principle of hot stuff or not. In just 2 hours the site was visited by 500 people, and after a couple of hours several thousand. As a result, due to such a large number of visits to the north, the sites fell as a result of such antics. The brand decently flew in from the Harvard administration. It turned out that all the photos that were posted on FaceMash, the guy simply stole to hack a computer network, universities, but even despite all this, he easily received his share of fame and recognition among fellow students. This was the second call for Mark. After analyzing the popularity of this site, the guy immediately realized that the seemingly not cunning trick of comparing photos worked perfectly. At that very moment he seriously thought about creating his own social network, where you can not only rate photos, but also communicate, comment on posts and even share your opinion. The same real virtual life. But this important event was still quite a bit away. It is February 4, 2004, that is considered the birthday of the project for Facebook, in the creation of which, in addition to Zuckerberg, 3 more people of Eduard Sobianin, Chris Hughes, also participated, and also Dustin, with Seafoam, contributed a tidy sum to the development of the site. The rest were programming. The first task was to promote it here. It could not do without the old favorite spam. The second task was to form the right target audience, which, according to the developers, should have consisted of young people between the ages of 20 and 30. The site got so popular in a matter of days that already on the 6th day after its launch, Zuckerberg and the entire company were sued. It turned out that the idea of creating a prototype website launched on Facebook belonged to the brothers, the twins Winklevoss. According to them, back in 2003 they were going to launch their own Harvard Collection Network, which was supposed to be modeled after the already successful SMS. Now they did not transfer control of the source code of the future site to Zuckerberg, offering in return a share in the future of the company. Thus, an article was published in the local university newspaper claiming that Mark Zuckerberg was a cheater. A programmer, in turn, refused all charges, referring to the fact that here are the sites. Unique, designed personally, and litigation lasted several years and details. The processes were kept secret. Lawyers on both sides even asked to remove journalists from the courtroom in the end, when Facebook was already a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Zuckerberg paid the brothers $65 million, 20 of which he gave in cash. The rest of the money was returned as company shares. As for the explanations of Mark himself about this unpleasant situation, the Thai man hinted that the adoption, taking advantage of the fact that they had money, wanted to create a site almost a complete clone of his sensational FaceMash, so it turns out that he did not steal anything. Logically, only took its toll initially. The network was created for students at Harvard University. I could easily exchange any information, correspond, make reminders, and so on, and after a short period of time, the network became so convenient for all students that they could no longer imagine how they managed without it before. Sam, the guy, all the time asked his friends, students, what else they wanted to see new or possibly improve. So for thanks, he collected such important and necessary information. Soon, rumors about the network quickly spread throughout the universities throughout the country. So, for example, Harvard students who, for one reason or another, moved to another university, were surprised that there was nothing like that there. Word of mouth did its job, and a huge number of students in other schools from the South and North began to flood with letters from Mark asking them to connect their college to this network as well. So make all these already global and national projects. To implement this, money was needed and the brand had to fork out of its own. In the spring of 2004, students of Stanford, as well as Columbia University, already had free access to the network. Gradually, other colleges and universities, not only in the United States, but also in Canada, began to join. But friends, like for any large internet, Facebook resources needed investments. Thinking for a long time about how the network could move on, nothing else came to mind, except to repeat the fate of Bill Gates and move to Silicon Valley with the last money. His friend and Dustin moved there to offend, as well as an assistant, with whom a small house was rented by joint efforts almost every day from morning until late at night. And so 7 days a week Mark visited programming and worked on improving sites while a small team, in turn, tried to find investors. Exactly. A few months after arriving in Silicon Valley, Zuckerberg met Sean Parker, the creator of the network Simply, and a little later thanks to Parker, Mark met Peter Thiel, one of the co-founders of PayPal. The latter, in turn, felt the taste of prospects and money and without hesitation invested another $500,000 in the development of the site. And as a consequence, the result was not long in coming. After only 6 months, the number of registered users crossed the mark of 1 million people, and the geography has already spread over 2 continents, and these are friends. There were 2,000 in the yard. The third began in 2004. The brand itself was then only 20 years old, and in our country, not even many people had computers by 2005. The service ceased to focus only on a student audience. From now on, anyone could register on this site in order to communicate with friends and relatives. Remote. When the number of users increased to 50 million, Zuckerberg began to receive such lucrative offers to sell the social network that even his eyelashes could not. Yahoo corporations were especially persistent in this matter, offering Mark Facebook $900 million for a programmer who turned out to be smarter. On the offer, he refused. But during this period, he began to work closely with Bill Gates, who eventually acquired 2% of Facebook shares for $260 million. And of course he signed up on the network. True, the account was deleted in 2011, because Bill was simply tired of answering friends' messages in 2008. Thanks to the work of the site, Zuckerberg's fortune grew to $1.5 billion, and Forbes magazine called the guy the youngest billionaire in history in 2001. Facebook began to work closely with other global giants Skype to bring both companies around trial. Also this year, the social network film directed by David Fincher was released, where everyone can get acquainted with the screened version of the story of the state of Facebook in 2013, the first mobile application for smartphones running initially on Android, and a little later on iOS, thanks to which the number of users registered on the network grew to several hundred million in 2015. Billions of visitors officially registered on the social network. Currently, the social network is seen in 68 languages of the world, and has also spread to all continents of the planet. By the way, even where there is almost no internet, it was for such countries that a light version of the USSR Facebook network was released, which interacted directly with mobile communication providers. In the same year, the company's largest turnover was recorded, which reached a record $270 million. Facebook is actively investing in startups and technology. The number of companies acquired by Facebook exceeds 50 in June 2012. Zuckerberg's company bought Face.com applications that allow face recognition in images. In the same year, Facebook acquired Instagram for $1 billion, which was already incredibly popular and could become a serious threat to Facebook. Therefore, the company decided to buy its competitive. In the year 2014, Facebook spent $2 billion on the developer of the virtual reality device Oculus VR. Virtual reality can not only allow you to share memories, events with friends, but let them know how you feel. And finally, the largest investment of Facebook Messenger WhatsApp. This purchase cost $19 billion. Facebook's own Messenger was released as a separate application only in 2015, that is, after the acquisition of WhatsApp. By the way, despite the global success of WhatsApp in the US, only a few percent use it. The main way Americans communicate is SMS, over 60%. Then Facebook Messenger 15%, and last but not least WhatsApp with 2%. It's connected, most likely, with the fact that WhatsApp primarily solves the problem of communication between people from different countries, while most Americans do not have such a problem. Zuckerberg and the creators of WhatsApp, Jan Koum, disagreed on the monetization of instant messengers, and the latter was forced to leave Facebook. As for those people who have already managed to watch the movie in 2010, the social network and are very negative about Mark. I can disappoint you, because the whole film is a metaphor. It begins with the phrase "you will not find 500 million friends." Failing to find a few enemies, the film shows Mark from an unflattering perspective when he won 4 Golden Globes in 2011. The producer thanked Mark for allowing me to use his life and work as a metaphor. Through it, the director portrayed the ways people communicate with each other. Every year, the founder of Facebook stand in front of himself on the takeout. For example, in 2009, he wore a tie to work every day. In 2012 he wrote code every day, and in 2014, he set himself the goal of writing one thank you note to his Facebook followers. Don't forget the young billionaire. I donate to charity. In 2001, Mark Zuckerberg signed an agreement with Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, the main point of which was to donate at least half of his wealth to charitable purposes, and in December 2015, Mark announced that he would donate almost all of his fortune to charity, adding that he understood that he did not spend, and for what we will give our lives, 99% of our Facebook shares. At present, it is about $45 billion. Throughout our lives, the billionaire wrote on his Facebook page to improve this world for future generations. He still wears a gray Facebook logo t-shirt almost every day and explains this by the fact that he is very busy, and this saves him time in the mornings as well. It is worth noting that, having moved to Silicon Valley at the beginning of the 2000s, Mark dropped out of university and graduated only at the age of 33 in 2017, when he had already become a billionaire. Before that, he didn't even have one. Diplomas. Also, not so long ago it became known about another fact that had not previously appeared anywhere. It turns out that Mark actively pious this partial color blindness, which is characterized by reduced sensitivity to certain colors. It distinguishes green and red very badly, but everything is fine with blue. I think now you understand why the main color of Facebook is blue. On May 19, 2012, Mark Zuckerberg married his longtime girlfriend Priscilla Chan. The couple had a celebration on the occasion of Priscilla's medical degree. However, when close friends and family members appeared in the backyard of the young alto's house, they were announced that they had got to the wedding of words. Many then said that the billionaire had the simplest and most inexpensive wedding in his backyard on December 2, 2015. The couple had a daughter, Maximich, on the 28th of August. Another daughter was born in August 2017. Today, Zuckerberg's company brings him billions of dollars in income, even though the total number of shares owned by the programmer varies from 28 to 30%. Facebook occupies a confident first place in the world in terms of the number of users. As I said earlier, this is more than 2.5 billion people by a wide margin, breaking away from second place YouTube with 1 billion users. According to Forbes, in 2018, Mark was in 5th place in the list of the richest people in the world with an unrealistic fortune of $71 billion, and it is worth noting that today he is only 36, no matter how it was in the history of this social network. A real example of success that can be achieved by a truly purposeful person, verified in what he does. Of course, you can find people who will do everything for you, but agree to fulfill the dream on your own. Much nicer and cooler, and this is a really great example of a successful Rico who has achieved high scores. Just follow your dream. Here is such a story, the largest social networks in the world. And as always, it is worth noting that everything big starts small, often begins with a dream garage in the backyard of friends. And which social network do you personally give your preference to? Share yours opinion in the comments. But for today, perhaps that's all. Rate the video if you liked it and see you soon. Tank.